What's going on, guys? Nate here, and as many of you have already heard, there was recently a quote-unquote Bethesda leaker on 4chan who claimed to have knowledge of and unveil the game studio's plans for the next few years. Now, I didn't treat this story very seriously, mainly because the alleged leaker was posting on 4chan anonymously and offered no evidence whatsoever. So entertaining this story when so many other people had already offered their own articulated takes on it wasn't a huge priority of mine. However, our alleged leaker, and I use that term very loosely, did claim that a Bethesda game called Starfield would be confirmed at this year's E3, something that's probable to happen regardless of the validity of this poster's credentials. He went on to make some more radical claims about what we could expect at Bethesda's conference, and I guess we'll find out in 3 days whether or not he was telling the truth, in which case he is. I think we'll all take his information a lot more seriously. But I digress. He went on into detail about what Starfield's gameplay would consist of, and said something that sparked a lot of debate within the Bethesda community, stating, quote, "Starfield takes place in the Fallout universe, just so far in the future and far away from Earth that it'll only be mentioned in hints. This is part of a planned, ongoing, interconnected universe of every Bethesda franchise. They gave hints of this by implying that the Brotherhood of Steel created Nirnroot in Fallout 4. They are getting a little wacky with lore and using Elder Scrolls time wounds to justify lore inconsistencies. Basically, Fallout is the beginning of the timeline, Starfield is the middle, and the Elder Scrolls is the far future." Obviously, end quote here. This little statement ignited a lot more discussion than I think anyone expected that it would, but our alleged 4chan leaker still may be onto something regardless of whether or not he is actually a leaker at Bethesda. In Fallout 4, should you get nosy enough within the Brotherhood of Steel Prydwen ship, you will find a glowing bit of vegetation referred to as experimental plant that sure as hell looks a lot like the Nirnroot plant in Skyrim, and in a nearby terminal it is referred to as NRT, a possible acronym for Nirnroot, and is described with many of the same properties as the plant from the Elder Scrolls. They're essentially meant to be the same thing. So now the question remains, was this just a one-time Easter egg, or does Bethesda intend to expand this to a much greater scale, possibly linking their various franchises together? Well, should Starfield be Bethesda's next IP, there's certainly a lot of opportunities for them to do either. Starfield would likely take place in space, so if Bethesda wanted to, they could include little hints and references to the aliens of the Fallout franchise, perhaps briefly showing one of their ships fly by you, or being a lot more blunt about it, with these aliens possibly being a significant race within the game. If it's the earlier of those two, I don't think I would mind all that much. The occasional Easter egg that vaguely suggests these universes are linked wouldn't bother me. In fact, I might find it a little bit interesting. However, if they were to make the connection too obvious and get to the point where you use Fallout lore to justify things in Skyrim is where I grow very concerned. Bethesda did not even create the Fallout IP, they purchased the rights to it, and I highly doubt when they were first working on the Elder Scrolls, they imagined it being linked to some sort of nuclear apocalyptic scenario. So the more directly they link these two worlds, the more they open themselves up to potential plot holes, breaking immersion, that some of their audience may even interpret to be a little bit disrespectful. Bethesda has lore inconsistencies with both their major franchises, as is right now, and the respective communities are very nitpicky about this sort of thing. So to see Bethesda go back on years of writing to try and explain to me that, oh, the Daedric gods came out of some sort of vault, fuck off, it would be a little bit ridiculous. But the occasional reference here and there, without trying too hard to explain its origins, would not be the worst thing in the world in my opinion. It might even be a little bit interesting. Where do you guys stand on this? Could it be very cool if Bethesda links these worlds in some way, be it directly or via minor Easter eggs, or would you prefer they just stay the hell away from this subject in general? There will be a link in the description down below to this alleged leaker's post. A lot of what he goes into detail about does sound kind of cool, even if it's not entirely true. Keep in mind it is on 4chan, so do promise you won't get radicalized. Anyway, with that we are going to wrap up. I hope you all enjoyed. If so, a like rating is always very much appreciated. I will be going on a little bit of a trip over the next 3 days, but I do get back on June the 11th, just before Bethesda's big conference, where hopefully we'll get some answers and maybe even, just maybe, a new game will be confirmed. Again guys, I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope to see you all on the 11th. Peace out everybody.